everybody, and welcome back to the Dash Trader Newsroom. Don't fight the Fed is how the old saying goes. The Federal Reserve has cut interest rates by a quarter of a basis point, and nothing unexpected here. My name is Michael DeJoy, Director of Educational Services here at Dash Trader, joined by my co-host Jill Mullendrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Jill, how you doing?
Good to see you, Mike. Thanks for having me
See you
back.
there at the market site there.
Yes.
Keeping busy as always. So we had the big Fed announcement that everybody has been talking about and waiting for, this big rate cut. Seemed like the market, really didn't react too much yesterday, but today we've had a nice gap to the upside as the Fed has indicated 2 more rate cuts by the end of the year. It seems like that old expression, don't fight the Fed, is in full effect here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you know what, Mike? I think it's a little bit more than just the Fed cutting by 25 basis points. I think the fact that perhaps the commentary wasn't quite as negative as it relates to its reflection on the overall economy could certainly be helping. But what's been working for 2025, with the exception of the pockets of volatility that we've had, is still working. I mean, momentum is the top performing factor, across the board. So what's working is working. I think the fact that you're seeing the Russell 2000 participate, and it's broadening out to the small caps where it's not a couple of days of performance, but there's some follow through. That's helpful as well. What's been working is working, and I really think it's momentum at this point. September certainly didn't play out as it does from a historical perspective with being a seasonal trade. Yeah. And here we are.
Yeah, it's definitely a bullish market, as we can see from this chart. I mean, there's really nothing negative to say about it. It's just pretty much up and away. Price is above the moving averages trend higher. But let's just go through this. I mean, I would say this is not so much a wall of worry, but a wall of positivity. We have gold at all-time highs. Which actually, sometimes when everything looks positive, sometimes it can be a negative, but let's stay positive here. Gold is at all-time highs. Silver is near all-time highs. Cryptocurrencies have recovered and are nearing all-time highs once again. Interest rates are dropping, which is generally a positive for financial markets. Inflation seems under control, although it was a little higher than expected, which probably led to the interest rate cut. The real concern that the Fed cited was the jobless rate. But how does the overall economy seem? Is there anything that we should be aware of from your various conversations?
Yeah, I mean, gold, the expectation is that it's going to, continue to move along its path. We actually had LBMA on with us yesterday, the day before, and essentially they are the global data provider for the gold space based out of London, and they're as bullish as you can imagine. Silver near highs. The Nasdaq Junior Miners Index is up 105% on the year. It's one of our top performing indexes, and of course, that could correlate to the AI trade, which is interesting because some of our climate indexes and energy transition themes are also some of the top performing indexes. Of course, we have Climate Week NYC here next week, the 21st through the 28th, and I don't know if it's a paradox or ironic, but it's really the AI trade and this insatiable demand to power that AI is really what has reinvigorated the climate tech / finance / infrastructure conversation. I think because that pivot has moved from ESG and mandates, but rather towards looking at multiple sources of energy to satisfy this demand, that the investment case can certainly be made. We're starting to see less restrictive policy to help get some of these facilities online. You're seeing a lot of technology evolve in terms of micro and modular apparatuses. Also, a key thing that we've been covering, because we are covering climate throughout the month, is leveraging the resources that already exist. So water is a big story. Biochar is another one. Looking at alternative ways for more sustainable air fuel, right? So I think it's just so interesting that we don't typically think of climate tech as one of the beneficiaries of the AI trade. Certainly, we hear, data centers really get the headlines, but it only is about 1.5% of the demand of energy overall within the U.S. It's expected to double to 3% by 2030. But I think, you might not have thought about this in 2022 when the AI story really took off, but that is really what has invigorated the climate tech resurgence. And I think, again, the way that the industry is positioning the investment case, and certainly the policy pivot is huge, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether from the corporate perspective or from the consumer perspective, when mandates are put in place for things that are not available at scale, so affordability is an issue. It won't come to fruition. But what I think is interesting about the climate resurgence this time around, because of technologies like AI and other predictive analyses, is that you're able to understand your ROI, you understand your risk modeling better because of this data that's available, and that is also helping to provide a catalyst behind the climate tech trade.
I mean, all excellent points, and a lot of things that I wasn't really actually focusing on. So thank you very much for that. Now let's just jump. Actually, this relates to AI and semiconductors, and as pretty much everything these days does. We saw a couple of weeks back, probably just over a month now, the U.S. government has taken a big stake in Intel. And then now we see Nvidia also making a $5 billion investment in the chip maker, building custom CPUs for Nvidia. What do you see for the chip sector? What do you think? I mean, to me, this position was motivated, has some political motivations, but obviously it also, there's a little bit more going on to this investment than meets the eye. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, from strictly a price action perspective, if you take a look at the Philex stocks index, which again is another one of the Nasdaq indexes, also having a great year as well. And of course, semiconductors, that's really what is behind the AI trade. We know NVIDIA has exposure to it. And, I don't think it's flippant or unfair to say that the government certainly has motivated some of these investments. The administration's been quite clear that U.S. leadership, innovation, national security are its priorities, and you're seeing that play out in the marketplace.
Yep.
Even if you want to correlate it to the surge in the digital asset space, these semiconductors are required in order to provide that compute power. And what did we see as soon as there was a framework that was passed? Legislation introduced, it was passed, and now we have a framework. I think you saw the investments that were made, and the funding rounds, and that brain drain coming back to the U.S. and companies rebuilding their New York presence and so forth. So I think you have, not in recent history, have had this kind of support for innovation leadership. And again, I think the real stake behind it too is it's also, a national security race as well.
Excellent, great points. I mean, certainly some political guidance, going on here. Now that brings me to my last thing. Obviously, it's that time of year again. It's not quite there yet, but it looks like we're going to be doing the #1 best trader competition this November. So stay tuned for registration. Okay. And this will be this year's only #1 best trader competition. And Jill, you and I always look forward to this time of year. We get to be quasi trading commentators as we watch the results and see what people trade each week in the #1 best trader competition. So on that note, Jill, great to see you. And thanks for all your info.
All right, you got it. I'll talk to you soon, Mike. See
you soon.
Bye.
Bye now. All right, let's jump right in here to the market analysis. I mean, really, the market is so incredibly technically bullish. I mean, we have uptrending moving average, a 10 and a 20 period moving average. It's trending to the upside. We have a little bit of a gap up, possible island reversal, doji star. But obviously that can be very easily erased tomorrow. Interestingly enough, some stocks that had been lagging, like Google, I mean, exploding to the upside, Alphabet, GOOG, really performing very well. Netflix, which had been performing, has a little bit of a head and shoulders formation going, but it could also just be a consolidation. We have Meta, near the top of its range. Microsoft near the top of its range, but having given back a lot during this latest, earnings announcement. And had a great earnings announcement, but then it's pretty much faded ever since then. Apple coming back to life out of the doldrums. So that's Apple, Microsoft. I mean, Tesla has been on fire, which was expected. It had this kind of rounded bottom formation forming for a long time, and now it has kind of surged back to the upside. It's kind of at its highs again, at least recent highs. So Tesla has really come back quite a bit. I'm not crazy about the weekly chart, but certainly the daily chart, has been strong lately. With a little bit of an island forming up there. What else is going on here? Let's take a look at GLD gold. Gold pulling back a little bit, but really making a nice breakout. As Jill had mentioned, SLV, near all-time highs. Lots of traction going on with silver being bought up and used in AI, semiconductor, kind of real industrial purposes. We have GBTC really recovering from the pullback after making new highs. We have Ethereum, ETHE, also kind of a bullish consolidation formation. So certainly all markets are looking very, very strong. Individual old economy stocks, XOM, near highs. DIA, near the highs. I mean, you name it, it's near the highs. So that's pretty bullish. That's a broad-based bullish rally. So I'm just going to stop the share. Stay up to date with all things DAS by signing up for our monthly newsletter. Fill out the form at the bottom of our webpage. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and the DAS Newsroom reminders. Follow us on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And remember, get ready for the #1 Best Traders competition coming up in November. Trade well, everybody. See you next time.